Good morning, Warriors. We're back with another episode of Figure Warriors 2 and the Morning Retention Talk. Hope you guys are doing wonderful. This is Friday, January 14th, and we're in the Midwest here, and it's a little bit warmer than it was last week, so this is wonderful weather. And I taken the great one, my big Pyrenees Holly. We took her out, and always enjoy walking and taking a cold shower in the morning, and so we're in good shape. So thank you again for all the subscriptions. We're close to like 295, I think, last time I checked. So we're good. We're getting there. We're getting more and more people to get the information, and with all the other great channels out there, it's great to kind of see people who are seeing that this is what this is a whole different way of life. And this is the way it should have been and was for many, many, many years. And I think just like anything else, as we talked about before, things go in cycles. And it's good to see that before this dynasty goes out the window, that we have at least a small fraction of people who understand the importance of retention and not going and getting caught up in all the lascivious temptations and things like that we've seen over the years in many different realms. And with power and money comes all those temptations. And not that power and not that money is bad necessarily. I don't like power; it means nothing to me. But I think it's a matter of temptation, and you're getting deeper into your hole or cage, however you want to put it. And so people tend to get more caught in. And so yes, they have a lot of the great things for a while, but it becomes a trap. That's why I always call it trappings of the wealth, because now you have to continue to make that kind of money and do types of things, no matter whether you want to do it or not, to keep the style of living in the same house, living in the same thing. So that's why you see a lot of people who are very successful are very simple. They don't need a lot, and they're very grateful for things that they have. So I think that whenever you see the opposite of that, you realize the person is not maybe what they seem to be. So let's kind of talk today a little bit about a couple of comments. I want to shout out to Limitless Vision, who has a lot of great comments, and also Babba, who made a good comment as well. So a couple of interesting points to kind of dwell on for today's talk. So please go ahead and subscribe, comment, like, donate. Once again, thanks to Matthew and a few of the people who have donated recently. And so it's always appreciative and grateful. And like I said, I'm going to try to expand this as I go along. So let's start with Limitless Vision. Had a nice comment and very interesting perspective, and it's interesting to kind of dwell on this a little bit, because I do refer, and he mentioned this in the comment, I do refer a lot to before I went on this retention, before I started fapping. Let's go ahead and look at this a little bit. So when I was, I guess I go back a little bit here, and I thought about this for a while, and I think that it was a simpler time, but I'm not talking about the world around me, because the world around me, I mean, you can kind of say, depending on the generation you're in, well, this was simpler, that was simpler. Sometimes it does seem like it's simpler because it was in the past, and it's not going to repeat itself, and you didn't have the kind of technology and things that you have now. But the thing is that the reason I'm able to reflect on that is because I noticed a difference. Not that I remember a lot of things that when I was 12 and 13. I mean, most of us don't. But I do remember a period of time, and maybe I'm not totally right on 12 or 13. It might be a little bit older than that. But at some point, I started having a not the same feeling. Now, it could have been because, I was happy, secure in my parents and those type of things as well. But I guess I'm just kind of referring back to a period of time where I had felt that I didn't have the anxiety level. And of course that could be tied into the fact that I was younger and things were being taken care of for me, and I didn't have the responsibility. But I also think it's a matter of I wasn't thinking at all about these temptations and things like that. And I guess that's kind of what I'm really referring to. The fact that I didn't have that. I was kind of just, going along, enjoying American football, enjoying slot cars, back then we had, and I still have it now, these small football men, electric football men that play in the game, and that's just one of my hobbies. And the same thing with model trains and things like that. So I got involved with a lot of hobbies because I enjoyed that, and that's what I enjoyed. I didn't think at all about, girls and things like that. In fact, I was running away from girls because I wasn't that interested. And I guess that's the point I'm kind of talking about a little bit. And I do remember a couple of those situations. And those are the types of things when I was at parties or weddings, and I would just kind of run away. Now, I had thought that it was totally bad, and it's not good to run away. Don't get me wrong on that. Running away is not a good thing, but having a conversation, having some control of yourself is the key. And I think I remember a time where that was the case. But that was young, and so I recognize that. But Limitless makes a good point, is that I focus a lot on that only because I could see as I reflect back on all this, I could see a separation between those times and then when I started getting into the what I call the poor behaviors and things that I did after that. And so I think that for the next 40 years after that, I just never felt the same way. Now, there could have been times when I did. I don't remember them that much, but I do remember a time that was it. Now, I say that because as I'm doing this now, and I'm going back to the point that I was at, and this is 200 and I think it's 585 days, I believe it is. I'll have to go back and look at it. And over 110, something like that, 110 days in monk mode. I'm now feeling what I remember feeling back then, and that's just not really thinking about it. And it wasn't at the top of my mind. Now, they always say that, especially young men and not so much as women, but men think about sex and things like this almost every minute of the day. That was the case with me for a long, long time, but that's not the case now. And that's because I've been able to now move away, and monk mode helped me do that, totally away from it. Now, there's times it comes up, but I'm challenged. And so I shift my energy back to my goals and things I'm focusing on, and all of a sudden it goes away. And so you have to kind of, once again, get those birds flying over you and get them, shoo away, birds, shoo away, right? So Limitless, it's a great comment you make, and the reason I keep focusing on it is because that's the time I'm in right now again. And I do feel that from an energy standpoint and relaxed. I'm just not interested in this other stuff. And to me, that makes life so much easier to me. And I'm not in that kind of mode. So I hope that kind of refers a little bit to it. So I appreciate your comment. It was a very good comment. And thanks, Limitless Vision, for those comments. So let's kind of focus a little bit on Babba. Babba made a nice comment too. And he's talking, as he's talking about this, he was talking about focus and laser focus that you have. And so I could talk about this one a little bit in terms of, where your superpower comes from. Well, the power really comes through the eyes. And I think I think I had a couple videos on this. If not, maybe I'll do one on this. But the energy that most of us have come through our eyes, because we see this way. And so everything that we think and those things come through the way we look at things and see things. You can actually, there's been a lot of studies done that you can actually cover the whole face of a person and still tell what the emotion is coming through the eyes. And this is what people sense in you. And this is where the attraction from women and men come from, depending if you're woman or man. This is where the focus comes from. This is where, all the benefits come from, things like that. A lot of the emotions, since 90% of it, from the last thing that I read, comes through the eyes. It doesn't surprise me at all that that's where your focus would be. And so as your focus is stronger, you're now able to accomplish things and get things done because you have a single-minded focus. Almost like, what's the analogy I can make? And even though you may not actually see it coming out, you remember I go back to my Marvel comics here, but you go back to Cyclops in the X-Men. And he takes off his visor, zoom, he gets laser beams coming out, right? Now, we see those laser beams in the comic books and the movies, but, we have the same laser beam coming out. We just don't see it. Others notice it, and once again, I have people staring at me like I did yesterday a couple times, and you notice these things because they're different. They're different than the way normally people would act towards you. And so you see yourself and people are just staring at you. And I think it's because the energy you're having is building and building stronger, especially if you're transmuting it and you're able to, you get that energy out there, people see that. And so that's why I think that you can have laser focus, because the power, a lot of the power is coming through your eyes. People sense that. And that's why they sense when you're on NoFap and you're on retention or it's practice celibacy. Now, like I said, many, many years ago, this was a lot more common than it is now. And so now it's a lot more noticeable. But you had men and women running around, years ago when I was a kid that used to do all this. There's lots of people that used to be celibate. But that was the norms of the society, and they followed very strongly the 10 Commandments a little stronger. And every generation is a little bit different. I believe the generations move further and further away from God as they get more successful. And I believe this is probably what happened in a lot of these type of things. I mean, I remember a story about Napoleon, who had to bring religion back because people needed this so much. They needed some hope. And I think that when you look at people who are dictators and people like Hitler and things, that they closed the churches down, and because they basically realized this is where the hope and this is where people start with, and they believe in it. And so basically this is where societies grow. They grow from a lot of strong beliefs, and so those strong beliefs stay with people. But like human nature, when you start achieving things and you're getting better with things, the tendency for people is to forget about and not be as grateful to the Lord. Then that happens. This is why I think that it's not such a bad idea that you're always struggling with certain things and having problems with things, because now you appreciate God more. And I think there was someone, I think in Norman Vincent Peale said one time, is, "What's the matter, Lord? Give me more problems. What's wrong?" And so the thing is that when you have issues to deal with, now you appreciate the Lord a lot more. And I think that makes a big difference. But when you're on top and everything is going your way, the tendency is to forget about the Lord and not realize the blessings He's given you. And that's a recipe for disaster. And we've seen that. We've seen that in multiple generations. Babylon was like that, Sodom and Gomorrah, the Incas, the Mayas. You look at the Roman Empire, Alexander the Great. All these people, they could not overcome their own success, and that's because they forgot about God. And I think it's important not to forget about your Creator and realize the blessings you have on a daily basis, because you never know. As the Bible talks about, never know when your last day is going to be. And you want to be grateful and appreciative of all of the benefits you give you. And if there's a problem to overcome, there's a reason for that. And maybe God is teaching you something with that. And that's something to keep in mind. So you may sometimes get upset, jealous that people are doing better, and this person has all these fancy things, but they're going to go through some struggles, because if they're not grateful and if they're not appreciative of God and they have no belief in God, it's just a matter of time when things, as they invariably will, head in the wrong direction for some reason. What do they do at that point? And I think this is why you have to have a foundation of strong values and beliefs, and that leads obviously to a lot of the self-control that you have. All right, once again, Babba, thank you for the great question. Again, Limitless Vision, thank you for the great question. Hope you guys enjoyed a little bit of talk today. Once again, I'm heading towards trying to do streaming and figure some of that out, and doing maybe a live one at some point. But continue to throw some ideas out, and I probably won't do one on Sunday, but I'll do one tomorrow morning. Okay? All right, so have a great day, Warriors in Warriorville, and we'll see you soon. Battle on.